Welcome to BIM Talks, where we sit down with some of the coolest minds in the BIM and VDC world. But here's the twist. This isn't your typical industry interview. We keep things casual, like friends swapping stories over coffee. Our goal? We want to inspire the next wave of BIM enthusiasts and give them a behind-the-scenes look at what it's really like to work in the industry. Today, I'm hanging out with Sam from Flintco, and we're diving into his stories, lessons learned, and the kind of advice you would not find in textbooks. So let's get right into it. All right. So let me quickly give a little introduction of who I have with me today. This is Sam Strokes, and he is a licensed architect, and he's just transitioned into the construction industry nearly 6 years ago. He is passionate about bridging the gap between the design intent and the construction reality through the BIM process. Sam has completed 18 projects with Flintco across the Southwest and continues to touch every project with interest and success. Anything else to add to that, Sam?
3 kids plus. And happy dad, happy husband, happy BIM manager.
So, happy BIM VDC engineer manager. Tell me, how did you end up in BIM? Was that planned or was that a chance accident?
Well, let me start first by defining BIM, building information modeling, or building information management for some people. Recently, I was caught off guard when I asked what BIM stand for, and I, of course, responded to building information management, which is how I was trained in architecture school. And it caused a lot of grief here in the construction world because they were quite shocked. Because that's not the definition they know. And they were shocked that their seasoned BIM manager was using the wrong definition, which led me on a long journey. And that journey ended up with me being correct technically. And the U.S. BIM standards is adopting U.S. Building information management. But in the construction world, I guess building information modeling is more common usage. So that is, of course, our 3D model process. Most of your listeners and viewers may be familiar with that, but some may not. So, of course, when we say BIM, we're saying building information modeling, where we model in 3D, in the computer, all of those systems overhead or behind a wall that you typically don't see in a building. And then, of course, VDC standing for virtual design and construction. So VDC, BIM, we'll use it interchangeably. And the question was, how did I end up here? Oh, that's actually a great question. As I was working as an architect, I'd actually started working in architecture in high school. So I'd been in architecture quite a long time for somebody at my age. I must have been 26 or so. But working as a project architect, and I actually had a now friend show up and provide a 3D laser scan of an existing facility that I had personally drawn. So I was a project architect for one of them and was tasked with creating accurate drawings of an existing facility for construction. And that laser scan indicated, later on I found out, that I'd actually missed a column in my own drawings. Of course, it was quite a large facility, massive facility, and now we're just using traditional tape measures and a laser tape measure to produce working as-built. So anybody in BIM is aware that you can only trust historical drawings so far. Then validating that information with laser scanning is super important. And so I know firsthand, both on the architecture side and on the BIM side, how important that process is. So, but that really piqued my interest. And then Flintco here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, recruited me to join their VDC team, or to lead BIM coordination efforts.
So tell us, Sam, what is the craziest project that you've ever worked on so far? Like the one where you really thought, "Yep, this is going to break me today."
It seems like every year I'm on one of those projects. It can be that work.
Don't tell me it was modern.
No. It could be a project where the design documents are still in process when we have to start construction. But honestly, one of the craziest projects I was on was my first and second probably project with Flintco, simply because of the learning curve. Coming from a project architect workflow to a BIM coordination workflow, which is not something anybody can really learn at a university. You can only learn that on the job. Coming to that new workflow was quite scary. In particular, as an architect, going from drafting basic communication stuff, basic emailing, project management, understanding building code, to then going to validating in 3D the means and methods of construction was quite a learning curve for me. So quite scary, but I like challenges and have enjoyed those 2 projects and learn every time something new on a job.
Anything specific that had happened on those projects?
One, just learning the process was quite difficult. Frankly, even though I'd been working in architecture on and off since for 10 years, I'd never even heard of Navisworks. So the Navisworks is the primary software we use to coordinate in 3D, of course. I never heard of that. So there was a huge learning curve there, and that was quite scary. And then on project specific, just learning kind of the old school way, learning the hard way, which trades need to be coordinated, making sure you have the right participants in this collaborative effort, learning to double check your own work. I mean, our process literally is where you take 2 objects, right? And where they collide, you scan and try to find those collisions, identify them to a team, and, discuss the resolution. So just even knowing how to do that, like how do you find the clash? But then once you find the clash, how do you resolve it? What do you do with it? Which really comes down to people management and following up with people and getting them to resolve those issues. So I know that's kind of, I don't mean to answer your question in a big picture way, but that's just really what comes to mind is just learning the job and learning it on the job with 2, a large tower project here in Tulsa and then a detention facility somewhere else in Oklahoma. And it was quite difficult.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you this. You're not the only one. I think anybody and everybody who joins BIM for the first time, and they're very, field-specific softwares. So I never heard of Navis when I was doing, designing. So it's only when I joined BIM is when I heard of Navis as well. So I guess that happens with everyone. Okay. Yep. All right. So what about the flip side? What's the project that made you think that I really love this job?
That's a great question. Last year, I finished coordinating a heart hospital here in Oklahoma. It was really complex. We had a really exceptional team. So for me, what's really valuable is the people behind the computer, the people behind the process or technology. This project in particular did not just include the traditional BIM scopes, of maybe like steel. It's common to see a structural steel vendor model included fire protection, mechanical pipe, ductwork, electrical, plumbing. Okay, those are standard trades that have a long history of participating in 3D BIM coordination. But on this particular heart hospital, we actually had 9 trades participating. We had a really forward-thinking project manager, a really forward-thinking owner, an architect who supported the enlargement of that coordination team, right? This included pneumatic tube. This included med gas. This included patient lift hangers. So the actual hangers that hold systems in place, Unistruct. That was really impactful for me, really rewarding. It's really telling when you kick off a project, meeting 1, the engineer record says, you have no room. Ceilings are at 8 feet. We're giving you 1-inch light fixtures. Good luck. So usually you're fighting to lower ceilings in BIM coordination, right? You're starting high and working down, untangling those systems. But when architect...
Isn't that the most difficult?
Exactly. But on this one, the ceilings are already as low as we're going to make them. And it's really tight. Good luck. So that was really fun. Yes. Especially when you're tying into an existing facility. This project in particular, the floor-to-floor heights didn't line up because it was a historic facility. And so, traditionally you want probably 15, 16 feet floor-to-floor height on a hospital, maybe even more. This was limited to 12 feet at some areas. And so things were really congested for a modern hospital. Yes.
Yeah, matching slabs and ceilings. Yeah, that's tough. All right. So, how about imagine 20 years old walking up to you, and then they tell you that I want to get into BIM. What is the advice, or they asking you, what do they do now? What is the first thing they need to know about BIM?
I think the first thing you need to know about BIM is it's not as technologically advanced as some people would think. At least this is just my opinion. It's really about people management skills, soft skills, so like communication, management, being detailed oriented. So there's an aspect to drawing pipe or drawing ductwork, I think, on the detailing side that is akin to, some would say, like video games. There's a large generation out there who loves playing video games, and so maybe you could attract certain people into the field that way. But then management from the GC side, which is what I do, because I'm not drawing anything, right? I'm just managing the process and the people that have drawn the work based off of the 2D documents. And so what I would tell them is you need to think closely about your soft skills. Are you comfortably public speaking? Joining a Teams call or a Zoom call, and there's 25 professionals on there. And some of these professionals have been in these drawings on this particular job for 2 years, can be quite intimidating. So I would say it's not as heavy on the technology as people might think. And it's a lot heavier on just basic leadership skills.
Does public speaking really matter? Does it matter so much? You're all online, right?
Yes, but a one-on-one call like this is not very intimidating, but when you have to speak up clearly and either direct people or ask prompting questions, sometimes enter into conflict in front of 25 people, even on Zoom, even on Teams, can be very intimidating. And so also you have to be willing to ask dumb questions too.
Oh, yes.
Oftentimes as a BIM manager, you're looking at just at the drawings, you're looking at the model, and no one else in the room, the virtual room, knows what's going on. Nobody else but knows what that object is, but they will not say it out loud. And so as the BIM manager, again, our process is trying to get all of the chaos to raise to the surface so we can coordinate it, but we're not going to know what's not supposed to be there. We're not going to know necessarily what's a clash unless somebody just says the quiet part out loud. So you have to have confidence to look stupid.
Yeah. I mean, I've come to realize after doing so many coordination projects, no question is a wrong question.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have to ask. You absolutely have to ask. Otherwise, you're just stuck. There's no answer to questions or clashes that you have. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So what's the one thing that you wish somebody would have told you when you started working in there?
It's kind of related somewhat to the answer I gave you about leadership. The technology is important, but like any kind of software, whether it's Bluebeam or Microsoft Office or AutoCAD or Revit, once you master it, once you feel comfortable with it, the learning curve is behind you. But what's new every time is the project, because construction's custom every time, because architecture's custom every time. And it's not just the places and the objects are custom and the design documents are custom. You're working with new teams in different states. And even if you have an existing relationship, like Nishi, you and I have worked together before, the Nishi's now working with a different fire protection team or in a different state on a different building. So being nimble in your communication style, being approachable to people, understanding that people are under stress. We have a goal all together to get in a certain amount of weeks, a coordinated level signed off.
Yeah.
And so one of the primary things I like to harp on, one of the things that I think is really important, is just soft people management skills. Understanding people, understanding what their deliverables, and clearly holding them accountable, building relationships that include both accountability but transparency, so you can really arrive at a 3D coordinated environment. I mean, you look at a BIM model, right? You just see ductwork or conduit and a beam and a column. When I look at that, I just see people behind all of that. It's really people that are either modeling accurately or not. They're either uploading on time or they're not. So accuracy matters, and that really just comes down to their own tenacity.
Okay. What are the top 3 survival skills that a new BIM coordinator or a BDC manager should have?
Well, I think learning curve is going to be big if you don't have a background in coordination. You could have a background in detailing. Mm-hmm. So say you're the person that works for a union. Say you went to trade school. You really understand how to put pipes together. You really understand sheet metal. You have that background. Say you have a background in architecture. You went to architecture school. You understand the process, big picture. Say you have a background as a project manager, regardless of your background, I think BIM's a unique environment. I've never come across a situation where you're really trying to combine so many different components, people, and complexity in kind of a one environment, one meeting. It kind of reminds me of cooking, actually, right? You have all these spices, you have all these components and seasoning, you have temperature, you have a lot of variabilities, you have time. Maybe it's like being a chef. I don't know, but you're putting those. Maybe a sous chef. I think the chef's probably the architect, but placing all of those people in conflicts and coordination obstacles in one environment, allowing that to rise to the top. You're kind of the focal point. Like, you're never the most intelligent person in the room. At least in my case, I'm never the most intelligent person in the room. Nor do I have the longest history on a project. A BIM effort could be 10 weeks. It could be a year and a half, but it's limited in a far shorter duration than what the design team has participated in, or even the construction team in the field. So we're kind of experts. We show up, we provide a lot of order, at least we should, and then we leave and provide a deliverable, coordinated shop drawings. So back to your question, what's the survival skills? I think just be willing to learn, be humble, ask questions, ask stupid questions, be a professional at what you do, double check your work. Just because you've set something up right in the model, set something up right in Navisworks or Revista, whatever software, make sure you have a way of double checking yourself. Make sure you get participation from what we call, the field, meaning like people that are in the office, in the trailer, or in the field doing the work, not just you and your corporate nice air-conditioned space. The BIM is only as enriched as the people make it. And so the more eyes you can get on the screen, the more double checks you have, the higher quality.
That's interesting. Is it intimidating though sometimes to have all of those eyes on you all the time?
Yep, I sweat right through my shirt on several occasions. No, it can be very intimidating. Construction is not just custom in the design. You come across custom systems, or I should say unique systems to you. Maybe you've never coordinated mass timber, glue lamp beams, wood columns, CLT deck. Maybe you've only ever done steel construction, and then you encounter concrete construction. So it's scary because it's not just coordinating the work. It's also just knowing even how to ask the right questions. If you've never encountered something before, whether it be a project type or a material type or a structural type, you may not even have a framework to ask intelligent questions about it. So it can be quite scary.
So you've spent a lot of time now in the industry, Sam. Are you still learning?
Yeah. I'm 6 years in, which is not a long time for some people, but for a millennial, 6 years is like 16.2 years. Millennials don't stay at companies as quite as long as everyone else, and they even just hop industries and disciplines faster. So 6 years is a long time. I've been here long enough now that I'm relearning things I already learned and promised I wouldn't forget, but forgot. So no one's perfect. You're like, I remember that now 3 years ago. So those mistakes though usually get ingrained in you. You never make those mistakes again. And usually because BIM coordination is a collaborative environment and collaborative process, it's easy for the BIM manager to take full total responsibility personally for everything, every issue missed, every clash missed. The reality is it's a collaborative effort, right? It starts with the design, moves through coordination, it goes to shop drawing, approval, it goes to fabrication, it goes to delivery and install. So it's a shared responsibility. However, I never let that negate the personal responsibility I feel for every project, for every clash. I personally want to be the best. I want Flintco to be the best at what we do. And that takes a lot of tenacity.
All right. My next question. What's the one thing holding BIM back from really taking over the AEC?
I think there's a perception of cost, possibly. Now, I will say I've only done BIM coordination at one company and only for 6 years. So I think other people could probably speak more intelligently to that question than I could, frankly. BIM on the design side is well integrated. BIM is just a tool in the sense that BIM to an architect or an engineer may be thought of just as like the Revit, like, or drafting or Tekla. So BIM is completely sold and used. It's believed in on the design side 100%. It's just actually their pen and paper these days. Okay. Now on the construction side, it's a little different because on the construction side, it's seen a little bit more revolutionary than evolutionary, right? Like on the design side, you go from drafting by hand to drafting on AutoCAD to Revit. So it's just the next iteration. With construction, BIM feels, I think, a little bit more disruptive to construction than on the design disciplines, simply because it jumped from coordinating work in the field, maybe with some overlays, maybe a light box, coordinating work in the field, maybe some blue beam overlays, which are still very effective, by the way, to this 3D environment, this 3D model environment. So even here in our region of Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, where we work a lot, there's a lot of subcontractors and owners and designers very familiar with our BIM coordination process, but we still encounter owners, designers, and subcontractors that's very new to. And to just go from thinking of executing work solely through conversation in the field, kind of laying trades out, stacking them one on top of the other, versus our BIM coordination effort, which we really compress things, right? First in the computer, can be, I think, quite intimidating to some companies. So I think, and with that intimidation, I think comes the perception of cost, which again, BIM is kind of how the kids just draw these days. It's, even if you didn't want a 3D model, if you ask somebody to give you a 3D drawing of a steel beam or of a home or of a car or any kind of object, they're just going to think first in 3D, just how the kids draw. So the industry will never go back simply because of staff. I mean, even in UK, it's hard to find somebody to draw on CAD these days versus find somebody to draw on Revit in a 3D environment. So another obstacle besides the perception of cost would be recruitment. There might be the desire to adopt this process, and a really forward-thinking strategic executive may find a way to cover the cost, to eat the cost, to pass along the cost, whatever that may be. However, where do you find these people? BIM managers, BIM detailers on either side of the fence. They're kind of like unicorns.
So here's my question now. You think people are still hesitant in adopting BIM? And then the second part to this would be, is it difficult finding people who would actually do BIM for you?
So remind me of the second question if I'm good. So the first question was, are people still hesitant? Yeah. So I was in an interview recently representing Flintco, and we were asked the question, did you say that you require your trades to model in 3D? And I said, yes. And they said, well, wouldn't that limit who can participate in your bidding? So even from a high level, you could see the conflict or where it's like, okay, this is great. We love Sam. We love what we're seeing. This is great marketing. We want coordinated work. Nobody wants to eat chaos in the field. But is this going to jack up my price? Like, this seems really specialized. We're not building a data center here. We're not building a hospital. We're building an elementary school. And the reality is, and this was my response, no, it is doable. We do it all the time. There's less rework. It's more safe. There's less waste. The most sophisticated contractors that with BIM are also oftentimes the lowest bidders because they can actually truly use the tool to dial it in, be very accurate, and reduce that rework in the field. So yeah, if you're asking subcontractors who are intelligent and sophisticated, I'm going to give you an opportunity to pre-coordinate all your work. They have less waste. So will be cheap. Yes.
Right. Cost really drives the project.
Right? It is difficult to prove, like in a scientific empirical way, and there's been case studies out there you can find, but on a local level, for your individual company, for your individual business, it is difficult to prove that sometimes that BIM will save the project money, but a good pre-con director, a good pre-con manager knows that intuitively because they just know they're getting tighter bids because they can anticipate less rework. Maybe they only have 2% contingency, instead of 10%, whatever that may be. So, And then what was
Right.
the second question?
And then the second part to it was, is it difficult finding people who would do
I've
BIM?
never been on that side of the table, but I imagine so. Not just finding people that do BIM, you can probably Google that and find it, but do it well. I think the strongest detailing teams are first and foremost in-house. If you
Wow.
have a project manager and a pipe fitter and a foreman and a BIM person all in one physical location. I know remote work is popular these days, but if you can have people co-located and they work for the same company, I think your highest quality comes from there first, because the feedback loop is present. Whereas if BIM becomes situated in a siloed environment, it can become more difficult to have those clear communication avenues. So primarily in-house, but if not, then there are seasoned, sophisticated vendors out there, teams you can hire that will supplement you and provide that service for you. And then if that's the case, if your BIM team is not physically sitting next to you, right? Or when a mistake is made in the field, you can go talk to that gal or guy or say, hey, what's going on here? If that feedback loop is not present in person, then there are teams that you can hire to supplement that. And then the most important thing there, I think, is communication, being on communicating effectively, having inner team calls before the public BIM call once, twice a week, whatever that may be, coordinating clear delineation of responsibility, making sure that vendor is truly a part of the team.
Now, if you could wave a magic wand and then to fix maybe just one thing that we are doing in BIM today, what would that be?
I think model accuracy is really important. The longer I've been doing this, the more I spend time, not just scanning to make sure things are clash free, right? Not hitting each other, but actually really researching and digging into a representative model, a 3D model, to say, is that per the submittal? BIM coordination is not only just as good as the people behind it, but also the models behind it. So if you can't find an LOD 400, you can't find a manufacturer model, it's really important to validate that the circles and squares are accurate, because it may be clash free in the computer and you go through this process and then you show up in the field and it's still a bust. So I think even getting various BIM teams, field teams, designers, everybody really focused on, hey, one, we need to validate the model richness, the model accuracy. And then two, we need to have contingency. Don't dial things in so tight where you think you can coordinate truly to a quarter of an inch. You may be able to do that in the model, but things are going to move around the field. Structural systems grow.
Does that add to your process? I mean, an extra step maybe to check the accuracy of that model?
It is. It's kind of baked into our routine review now before we'll sign off on a certain level area. It's not just, again, the majority of, especially if you're using Navisworks, the majority of your time is set up, at least to what our workflow is, finding the clash, identifying the clash with a say viewpoint, right? Communicating who's going to, or asking the question or communicating the resolution, validating, verifying that somebody fixed it, and then moving on. But people can draw things a lot of different ways. Just because it's drawn clash free, again, doesn't mean it's functional. I've seen condensate pump drawn vertically, meaning it's rising away from a fan coil unit, not going down. It's like, okay, is there a pump associated with that? How is water traveling vertically against gravity? So it's clash free. Is it accurate? Those are some of the most important things.
So when a project blows up, which I'm sure it does, on multiple levels, on multiple projects, who's actually to blame? And how do you keep it from becoming a finger-pointing service?
Luckily, some of that goes over my head, although in my 18 projects with Flintco, none of them actually truly blown up. Maybe I've just been fortunate in that history so far. BIM coordination, BIM managers, we're in the business of getting things done. We're not construction lawyers. We're not construction executives. I like to think of us as the Marines that come in and we just clear a path so the Army can come back through later and finish the work, right? So, unfortunately, BIM coordination is often rushed. It's early on in the project. It's never perfect because of our timeline constraints. Where we get it done and get things substantially complete, substantially coordinated, good enough for construction. Now, things blowing up again, if a clash is missed or something's unresolved, or more often than not, an RFI response comes in or a design change occurs that requires recoordination. That's usually what we're dealing with at Flintco, and we're able to use BIM coordination to assist with that effort. But at some point, the work just starts going, and yeah. But I've never been involved in a lawsuit. I've never been called to testify about BIM or anything like that. Thank God. So BIM's really a tool.
Thank God for that.
Yeah. It's a tool for getting stuff done, not for pointing fingers. So,
have you ever seen a team absolutely nail coordination? What did they do differently from other projects that you coordinated?
Yeah, I've had many successful projects with outstanding teams. The best BIM teams are ones that have a long memory. We have multiple meetings. Sometimes it span several months, sometimes for a mega project over a year. So they have a long memory. They understand that not just what the contract documents dictate, but the BIM team actually cares about what the owners and architects' design intent, and they will protect that. So they say, yeah, I could do this. I could clear the clash this way. I could lower my pipe here or there, but I know the architect wants this pipe centered for aesthetic reasons, or I know this or that. So I found the best teams to really be ones that really are collaborative and understand they're not just coordinating. They're not just drawing in 3D just to serve their contract. It's in service of the entire team and the project, and they really take personal responsibility on how things look. They also are frequently sharing their models, whether via Revisto or Autodesk Construction Cloud, not just relying on the Navis workflow, not just relying on the GC-led coordination call to get work done. They're really collaborating via Teams or phone calls or in person behind the scenes, so that when we have our recurring meeting, things are not just getting done every 7 days. Things are turning around much faster. So again, we want some teams that are really responsive and proactive instead of being dragged along by me. They're really out in front of me. I'd rather catch up to you than you catch up to me. So, and then last, I would say just attention to detail. It is really important in this industry, 3D coordination, to be accurate, have attention to detail. Why? Is something 80% accurate, 90% accurate? Is that good enough? No, because that's what the design documents were. The designers are hired to provide essentially one possibility. They're hired to provide a set of documents that is a possibility of an outcome. 80, 90% coordinated. That's fine. BIM has to take it much further. If it's not, then you're wasting your time. If a BIM team, a company, a person cannot add more value than what the design documents did, you're completely wasting your time and money. And again, just probably doing BIM coordination for a marketing exercise.
So you've been lucky with coordination teams then?
Yes, largely lucky. Yes. Yeah. Now, BIM coordination can fall apart just because one individual clicked the wrong button or forgot to look at the right sheet, or there's many ways you can sabotage BIM coordination. Largely, I've been fortunate because largely people want to get, do the right thing. They want to work, and nobody wants to waste time and money in all of this pre-planning. Right? It's only in service of us.
How about let's talk AI? It's everywhere. Do you think it's going to save BIM, or is it killing?
I will say probably what you don't want to hear, which is I don't know.
But I wanted to know.
So is AI the next Y2K? Yeah, is it the next Y2K, or is it COVID-19? COVID-19 was a real pandemic. It really affected all of us, all of our lives, our freedoms, affected our people's health. Affected our economies, our jobs, inflation, our grocery costs, everything. I mean, COVID-19, right, is the largest story probably of our generation. But Y2K promised to also be that and was not.
Oh, yeah.
So, frankly, I do not know. I have my own doubts on kind of the hype, but I guess we'll wait and see. So I will say this, what AI can't replace is people, and people only become more and more rare. So the reality is we're actually headed not so much towards an AI crisis, but a population crisis. In economies, businesses, your company, my company are driven on growth, not just of opportunity, but growth of employees. And so the entire
Yes.
company is generated on growth. So ultimately, does it steal a few jobs? Sure, but it won't steal all of them. And there's more work out there than there are people. And so that's why I love BIM coordination, because it actually augments the people we do have, the beautiful people that we do work with to work
Yeah.
more effectively. Even you could say BIM coordination is a job killer. I think some people were worried about that. Say, no, BIM is not replacing jobs. It's adding
Oh, yeah.
value to work that's already ongoing. You know, you can,
Exactly.
I think you can
Mhm.
throw
Oh, yeah.
people at a problem, or you can throw intelligent people at a problem. And I think this just makes
Yeah. I'd say BIM is actually creating more jobs as well.
yeah, you're not supposed to say that out loud, but yes,
Yeah.
it's a good thing. It is a job creator. Yeah, but it increases cost.
And at different verticals, you do get, you want to involve people.
Yeah.
There is that personal touch as
Yeah.
well.
And it increases quality and increases the cost of rework too, because everybody knows up front, hey, we're supposed to get it right the first time. So we use the BIM team. You know, the cost of rework is more expensive. The frustration is more
Yeah.
expensive, but the quality is there. So yeah, you're adding quality, reducing waste.
All right. What's one skill that the next gen BIM kids absolutely need to learn, to survive probably the next 5 years?
To focus on one task 1 hour at a time without getting distracted by their phones. Go try to paint these jobs as really technologically advanced. You know who's really technologically advanced? The people that design the software we use for our process. So as BIM managers, we ourselves are an end user, right? We're a client of somebody else who is very technologically advanced. We,
Yeah.
however, are running projects. We're concerned about cost. We're concerned about time and money. We're concerned about risk. We're concerned about safety. Safety is very paramount at Flintco. And BIM coordination has a huge role to play with that by reducing the rework, by reducing the amount of man hours in the field. But yeah, the risk and the largest challenge to the next generation is not adopting new technology. It's being focused on the technology you have in front of you for 1 hour at a time and being able to execute any kind of work without being distracted by social media or whatever else. So
Yeah. Stepping out of TikToks and Instagram.
yes, exactly. So it's like Uncle Sam's biggest advice about BIM: just focus on what you're doing and do it well. Nothing to do with BIM.
Are we even close to using BIM to its full potential? Or are we just, scratching the surface till now?
I think, going back to what I said before, I think BIM coordination has been an evolutionary, slow change over time. It's not really that revolutionary from my perspective, at least in the big picture. Sometimes on the construction side, it seems that way. But yeah, I think the potential is great. I think BIM departments will be seen almost like pre-construction departments. I don't, I'm not a historian, but I think pre-construction departments are fairly new, even on the GC and the construction manager side, right? And so as BIM coordination is be considered more and more of a minimum, more and more of a requirement, I think the adoption will be wider, not necessarily more vertical. So I don't think the technology is holding us back. I think it's just about what's holding us back is probably the right people using it. And then it's growth. So right now we see a lot, maybe 4 or 5 trades using BIM coordination and collaborating heavily within that process. But in the future, I think more and more systems will be coordinated. People are used to manufactured goods. You go buy a car, you buy a phone, you buy EarPod Pros, a laptop. There's a certain level of quality demanded in our society, right? We're in this consumeristic society. However, construction is custom. Architecture is custom. So if you watch documentaries on like a custom car versus a manufactured car, the experience of both the builders and the end users are very, very different. So on the construction side, you're still somewhat on the boutique side, right? This is not a manufactured good. Murphy's Law applies here. Everything that can happen will happen.
Mhm.
And not all of that's for the best. So
Will happen.
BIM coordination will continue to be
Yeah.
completely invaluable. Yeah, at least why construction remains custom.
Right. And you just said that more services will be coordinated. We already have NETF, we have architecture and structure, we do have facade sometimes. What apart from all of this do you think is going to be included?
I don't think all of structural systems are included on the trade side. What I mean by that is you'll have a design team model, a design team document, but actually getting people to model in 3D very accurately. The concrete is quite rare. Cast in place concrete. Precast concrete, it's more common to get a 3D model of that, request a model of that, because it's understood to be pre-coordinated work. However, even cast in place concrete, you should coordinate it. Okay. And so I think just even flushing out cast in place concrete in the BIM world, specialty systems, pressurized systems, med gas, pneumatic tubing, less common to get a 3D model of those systems, but you can. Any component, frankly, that goes in the building that's not loose furniture, right? Any component in the building that's above a ceiling, behind a wall, that we're currently not coordinating. So drywall is considered fairly standard. We're seeing trades more and more having in-house BIM capabilities to model in 3D so they can coordinate that and execute that work with less waste. So, but that again, that's not uniformly common. So I would say just continue to, you say MEPF, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire, but then there's even other trades, right? Traditionally missed within that scope. Curtain wall, civil, underground coordination. Flintco, we take great pride in the coordination of our underground work. That is largely the fire entrance, plumbing, and electrical. However, how you attach that to civil utilities is really critical and much easier at times to coordinate in 3D. Again, that's just how the kids draw. So do you really want to do a PDF overlay and try to make it work? Or do you want to model that in 3D and be sure that it's done?
But having everything in 3D also has limitations, right? I mean, it's not always accurate.
Yeah, it's only as accurate as the people that model. It also has a limitation too, where you're there's kind of a brain drain, right? You're putting all of this coordination effort into one process, into a small select group of team, right? Yeah. And so long term, I am concerned about the impact of BIM coordination, about making certain people highly specialized, very effective at coordination, and not really sharing that responsibility throughout an entire company where everybody gets to touch that workflow and learn to coordinate work, which really is kind of the bread and butter of construction. So yeah, it can fall apart at any moment, and you need really competent, experienced people to guide you.
All right. Fast forward 10 years. What's your dream version of BIM? Can you paint a picture?
I think my dream version of BIM coordination would have more involvement from the trades, more involvement from superintendents, foremen, project managers, a more democratized BIM coordination, again, less siloed to people that are perceived to be technological experts because they can open a software from 2001. Again, BIM within the companies and departments can be very siloed, very isolated from the rest of the construction. I don't think that's healthy for it. I don't think there's accountability there. And I think the more eyes on the screen, the better. So whether that's solved by improving the process, a different technology, having the right leadership involved, you could tackle a lot of different ways. Big picture, I think BIM coordination just needs to kind of be the standard, but also not isolated.
Are people open to learning new softwares and technology?
Sometimes. All of us get fatigued. All of us get fatigued by software. There's always this technology or this solution trying to be sold to you. I think the construction industry, again, I've only been in construction 6 years, but my understanding is it's on the radar of a lot of tech companies. There have been other markets that have been flooded by tech, maybe for the last 20 to 50 years, right? But construction is seen as an emerging opportunity for developers, for investors. And so, yeah, there's a lot of technology being thrown at us at Flintco, and I'm sure at you as well. So there can be fatigue in that adoption. The wrong response would be just to say no, just because it's different. The wrong response would also be just to say yes, because it's different. And so that discernment is really difficult, especially in a corporation. It takes, it's multifaceted, takes several layers of approval on how to adopt and approve technology.
But there's always room to grow. I mean, you can't just say no, you can just say yes, but you have to evolve yourself.
Flintco's ethos is the pursuit of the perfect construction experience, which I really love. And I think BIM coordination ties right into that. So again, it can't be stagnant. What we were doing yesterday is not good enough for today. What does that mean? We need to coordinate more trades faster with higher quality. And how do we do that? Through more involvement, potentially different software, and an improved process. So you have to, all of us though, we're bogged down with work. We just have the project in front of us. We have the task in front of us, and we don't always have the time or the energy for exploration. But there's opportunities out there to really set yourself apart. So if you were to ask me what one of the most dramatic BIM moments, one of the hilarious, funny catches, I would tell you, I do have great stories, but I would have to say I can't share those. One of the really collaborative aspects about BIM is we're not out to embarrass people. We're not out to embarrass ourselves. We're not out to embarrass designers or owners, and no one's perfect, including subcontractors. And so we do encounter things that are both real and fake in the model, both real and fake in the design documents. Again, because it's custom work, which can embarrass people. And so that's actually one of the hesitations of BIM is I don't want to share my 3D model with you. I don't want you really to get a look underneath the hood because I don't want you to see what's going on there. So it's a very sensitive topic. And so we never want to share anything that would embarrass somebody or point a finger.
Not pointing fingers or embarrassing somebody. It's just, I'm sure you've had instances where it was funny, a funny mistake.
One funny thing is, and I've seen this actually more times than I would like, say you identify a clash between a piece of ductwork and a piece of plumbing pipe and you ask somebody to adjust it out. Please raise that pipe 4 inches or lower the duct 3 inches or just do whatever you want. Just make it go away, please. They don't need to be there. It's a gravity pipe. It's falling at, 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch per foot. And what happens is they lower the entire pipe to the floor below or just above the floor. So do we occasionally encounter just accidents? Sure. Sometimes we encounter a lot of passive aggressive people as well. I mean, and no fault of their own. They get exhausted. You can get project fatigue, being asked constantly to fix that, fix this. But it's always funny.
Yeah. You know how you assign clashes and then it's just assigned to one trade, but then the other is also reviewing their model, right? And they see that clash too, and you just assign it to one, but both of them move.
Yes. Yes. Sometimes a hero can really cause problems because they don't have the big picture. And you say, Nishi, please do this. And so over here says, oh, I'll help Nishi out. And I'll just lower my entire fire system altogether. And they can create a headache for a BIM manager that way. So one piece of advice I could give to BIM vendors out there, to trade partners, to subcontractors, please upload on time. That's all I'm going to say. I need your models when I need your models, and it affects me greatly. So, and that's just basic. That's not, this is basic management.
It is lovely to have you on board. Until next time.
We'll see you soon, Nishi. Thank you kindly.
All right. Now that's a wrap on today's chat with Sam. If you're someone thinking about jumping into BIM, hopefully this gave you a glimpse into the reality, messy, exciting, and totally worth it side of BIM. If you like hanging out with us, hit follow and share it with someone who's just as crazy about construction as you are. And if you're already in BIM and want to hop on the mic, reach out to us. We're always down for a good conversation. So see you in the next one. You were saying?
I was saying I might glance at my notes. Could you tell?
I have them on mine are on my screen.